Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Tier 9 Chinese Premium Medium Tank, the DZT-159. If you do like the video as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yeah, the DZT, it is a vehicle that you will get in the Anniversary Pass at level 105 of the season. So if you get that far, you will get this tank for finishing that. Of course, you need to buy the Anniversary Pass, which is 6,000 gold. It is available in the store as well if you feel like you're not going to be able to finish the season or get anywhere near level 105, but it is 14,400 gold, which is a lot of money, and like I said, I never recommend anything over 12k, realistically. So, if you are thinking about picking this tank up, do not buy it at full price. Go get the Anniversary Pass and finish the season, because then you'll get it for what is essentially an extra 2,000 gold, because the other 4,000 gold will be spent on two other tanks that will be coming later on the season, and we'll have tank reviews out for those two vehicles when they actually come out as well, because that's when I'll be getting the vehicle. So, yeah, the DZT-159, you want to be picking up that extra 6,000 gold Anniversary Pass to be able to pick this vehicle up, because it's a really, really good deal, realistically, for this vehicle, as otherwise you'll have to pick it up for 14,400 gold. But what's it like as a tank? Well, as a tank, it's a pretty well-balanced vehicle. Its turret armor is very, very good. When you get this thing into a hull-down position, it can be really, really solid, and it will bounce a lot of shots. It hits pretty decently hard for 440, although it's not quite as special as it probably is on PC with the 440, because quite a few of the 120s have also been buffed up to the 440 alpha area, but again, that's just a balancing problem we've got at the minute. The hull armor is not great, though. They can go through this upper plate, lower plate very, very easily. Your mobility is lackluster, and you might look at the base mobility and go 40 kilometers an hour? Oh, that's slow. But you do get 7 rocket boosts, because it is a Chinese medium. No, it's a Chinese tank. It does get these rocket boosters here, which will boost for 5 seconds and get you up to about 68 kilometers an hour, which is really good for crossing gaps and trying to get to position a little bit quicker than some of the other vehicles. But it can feel also a bit limiting once you run out of rocket boosters. But on the whole, like I say, with this vehicle, I've felt it's not too bad. The camo can be pretty decent. You've got pretty decent view range. On the whole, it's just a very average tier 9 medium tank. It's not great, but it's not terrible, you know? So let's get into the statistics of the DZT-159. So as you can see, we've got the 40 km an hour top speed, 15 km an hour reverse speed, 640 horsepower engine, which is 15.61 horsepower per ton ratio. So yeah, you are slow in terms of that top speed. The reverse speed isn't too bad. It's about mediocre really for the reverse speed, but yeah, your top speed is very lackluster. But again, you do get 7 rocket boosters, which they cool down in 4 seconds. So once you've boosted, it'll take 4 seconds and you can boost again by pressing left on the D-pad. And you get those rocket boosts for 5 seconds. Now, the difference between this vehicle and, say, the rocket booster heavies is the fact that, sure, this boosts for 5 seconds as opposed to the 10 seconds, but you get a way bigger speed boost than the heavies do. The heavies go up 15 kilometers an hour. This goes up 28 kilometers an hour for that 5 seconds. So that's the trade-off, and that's why it's 5 seconds as opposed to 10 seconds. But you do burn through them pretty quickly. You've really got to be thinking about how much you want to use those boosters. You generally want to use about 3 or 4 to get into position and then save 3 for, or that's my general rule anyway, save 3 to then be able to use at a later date within the battle. But yeah, so you do have rocket boosters. You've got a 12% internal fire chance, which is on the lower end of fire chances, but it does get set on fire a lot, as it is a Chinese tank. The Chinese tanks generally do. So it's something to bear in mind. You could run fire safety training for sure. 40 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means it does turn pretty decently quickly on its tracks, though, which is great. 2.5 on soft, 1.2 on medium, and 1.1 on firm. It's poor ground resistances, and they can make the tank feel pretty sluggish, depending on the terrain you're on. And yeah, that 40 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is decently quick for its tracks, but you do have a 25 degrees a second turret rotation speed, which is slow. So you definitely want to be running rapid aim on this vehicle to get that turret traverse to be faster, as that is a slow turret traverse. You got 330 meters of still concealment, 356 meters of on the move concealment, which isn't bad concealment stock, and you'll get that down to about 300 meters of 300 meters of still concealment when you do get it kitted out, which can be pretty decent. If you use bush locations and stuff like that, it can actually be pretty difficult to spot, which is good for the DZT-159, and you can spot for yourself and all that sort of stuff. You got 390 meters of view range, which means this vehicle is also pretty decent at spotting for itself. It's not incredible view range, but it's not bad. It's pretty standard for a tier 9, realistically. You got 0.89 accuracy during rotation on this 122mm gun with a 3.23 accuracy during movement, which is atrocious. And it means this gun blooms out a lot. The aim circle becomes rather large, which is why you really want to help this gun out as much as possible with snapshot, with runner gun, and the gun stabilizer. As you have a 2.7 second aim time as well, so that aim circle does bloom out a lot, and then it takes a long while to get the gun aimed in. You do feel the aim time quite a bit, which might make you think about running the GLD if it does annoy you that much. You got 0.4 accuracy at 100 meters as well, which means this gun does feel very derpy, and it does. It feels a very, very inconsistent 122mm. Sometimes it's great, and then sometimes it just misses shots that you sit there going, really? Thanks for that gun. It's really good of you. You've got 7 degrees of gun depression, which is very, very average. 7 to 8 degrees of gun depression is always very average. And it's neither good nor is it bad, but it's not as bad as some of the other Soviet-esque vehicles that are going at 5. So you can use this 7 degrees and go hull down quite easily in this vehicle compared to some others. Say a 121, sorry, a WZ-120 if you're talking about tier 9s, for example. But yeah, 7 degrees of gun depression still can be a bit limiting. It's really thinking about where you're going to position yourself to be able to get the gun down on target. You've got an 11.7 second reload, which is 2.2k DPM, which is not bad DPM, but it's not great DPM. It's one of those where once you get it fully kitted out, the DPM isn't that bad at all. And generally, it feels, again, fairly consistent in keeping pushing out that damage. 260 penetration on the standard AP is decent. Again, it will go through most vehicles you're going to face in the weak spots, and then if you struggle with that, like Type 5s or Mousers, you can just load the 310 heat pen, and then you'll start going through them fairly easily with that. 68mm of penetration on the HE is also pretty decent as well, which means there's quite a few tanks that you can pen in the rear with that, but also quite a few artilleries that are a lot easier to pen with this than some other vehicles, as you do have that 530 Alpha on the HE, 440 on the 2 other rounds as well, which, like I say, if the other 400 Alphas, like the M103, Concrete, etc., hadn't been buffed up to 440, this vehicle would feel a little bit more special with the 440 Alpha. But now it's got a lot of downsides on this gun and stuff that those tanks don't have, because it's got 440 Alpha. But yeah, it lacks compared to those. But again, that's because that's a buff that didn't need to happen. You got 1,150 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, which is actually pretty good shell velocity for an AP round, and the velocity does feel pretty decent on this tank. You got 1,000 meters a second shell velocity on the heat, and 1,150 on the HE, so again, your bang average heat velocity, and again, that above average velocity on the HE. Pretty decent velocities in terms of that. Just remember that you really do need to be able to lead your targets to be able to hit shots with this thing, and because the gun is fairly derpy at times, it will miss shots that you sit there going, really? Thanks for that, DZT. And those are the bonuses for the vehicle. Not really any good because, again, it's a tier 9 premium. They don't really get any bonuses. So that's where the modules are for this vehicle. So that's where the engine block is. And again, if you get shot in that back end, it's likely to get set on fire. But what I tend to find, or have found, is if I get shot anywhere at the side at this kind of angle, or even shot through the upper lower plate, this thing does like getting set on fire. And it can be very, very frustrating for that. That's where the ammo racks sit on this vehicle. Not really had the ammo rack damage that much. But the tank is made of ammo racks. So that's quite weird. But that's where the ammo racks are. If you get shot in this middle section here, likelihood is you're going to damage this ammo rack. If you've got a big module damage gun, like a big 152mm gun or something like that, shoot it right under the turret in the hull, and you are likely to blow its lid. So yeah, that's where to aim for that. And that's where the crew sits in the DZT-159. And in terms of the armour, this is upper plate, lower plate is very, very easy for most vehicles to go through. If you've got about 200 plus pen, you will go through this upper plate, lower plate. You'll go through the upper plate with 200 plus pen really, really easily, which is quite annoying, realistically, for the DZT-159. The turret armour is about 300 effective. So if you've got 320, 330, 340, you could go through this turret front, especially shooting as close to the gun as possible. So that's something to possibly think about, but it is still a very, very, very strong turret, and especially when you start to use the gun depression, that turret armor becomes very, very good. Just bear in mind what you're going against, and if they start to decide to fire premium and they go through the turret, it's likely that it's because they're firing the 340 heat. But it still can bounce those shots. You do have cupolas on top, which can be hit if they're shooting down on it, so do be careful of that. I mean, what's the thickness of that roof deck? It is 50mm, so they've got to have a 151mm caliber gun or higher to overmatch that roof, so that's something. What's the side armor like on this video? So it is green, so it's going to be high. It's 80mm thick, which means you can side scrape with this vehicle quite effectively as well, as long as they don't catch shots into that turret ring, which the likelihood is they could catch shots into that turret ring. You've got to be very, very careful of that, but the side armor is solid enough that you can side scrape with it. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment in the DZT-159? Well, I run, if we get the crew over to there, I run Born Leader, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Green Thumb, Snapshot, Run and Gun, the radio jamming, expert gunner, and armor angling. Armor angling to reduce the amount of damage coming to the tank by 5%, because I do tend to get a bit brawly. But when I want to fall back on the camo, I run these two to make that camo that little bit nicer, and especially in a bush, and then have it with the improved concealment as well. These two, because the gun handling is dreadful if you don't help it, so we're helping out as much as possible with this and the gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible. And then radio jamming to be able to get unspotted 3 seconds faster. Expert gunner to increase the chance of doing module damage by 6% as well. Plenty of different ways to set up this crew, because again, you could quite easily drop the camo. You could think, I'm quite brawly in this tank, so I'm not going to bother with the camouflage whatsoever, and I'm going to run rapid aim to get that turret traverse better instead of that, because you could do that. You could also drop radio jamming to run rapid aim as well. Rapid aim is definitely a worthwhile skill for this vehicle because that turret traverse is just slow. You could also think about off-road driving to get the ground resistances to be better. Fire safety training is another one that you could definitely drop one of these perks for, whether it be radio jamming, the green thumb, the camouflage expertise, that sort of thing. You could drop any of those for fire safety training as well, especially if you get annoyed by how much you get set on fire. And again, you could go a bit more brawly if you were to drop both green thumb and the camouflage expertise. You'd probably think about fire safety training and track mechanic, because again, you do tend to go a bit brawly in this vehicle, so you want to get the tracks back on faster if you've already burnt the repair kit. And then in terms of the equipment for the DZT-159, food as always. And then in terms of the equipment, I run the advanced loader, the gun stabilizer, optics, and then we run the improved concealment. The improved concealment to get that camouflage down to that 302 meters of still concealment in combination with the camouflage expertise and the green thumb. Optics to be able to get the view range up to 476 meters of view range. Gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during movement and rotation down as low as possible in conjunction with the snapshot and run and gun, so that we don't have to feel the aim time all that badly. An advanced loader to get the best out of the DPM on this vehicle. But again, there is plenty of different ways to get it out, because I might still experiment with this. I might end up dropping the camouflage, and I feel like I'm probably going to do that after this review as well, is to drop the improved concealment and the camouflage expertise and green thumb, go a bit more aggressive and see how I feel with that as well. You know, it's all about experimentation with this sort of stuff. I've just felt like I've worked quite well with having the nice camo to fall back on if I've needed to. But you could definitely drop the improved concealment, run vents to get better DPM, aim time, all that good stuff. Or if you feel like the aim time does annoy you too much, you could run the GLD to get a better aim time, and that would knock it down quite a bit. Or you could run the turbo to get the better engine power, but also the better top speed, for which you'd get up to 42 kilometers an hour. But not just that, that would also buff up how fast you actually go in the speed boost, because the rocket boosters actually go up compared to what your actual top speed is as well. So that's something you could do too with the turbo. It's really down to you and how you want to kit out the vehicle as to how you're going to get the best out of it. I just like having the camo to fall back onto if I need to, as I am a medium tank, right? And when I'm in a position where I can't get hull down, it's nice to have the concealment to then go, okay, I need to stay unspotted a bit now to be able to farm away or to try and get out of dodge. So what are the statistics now? We've got it fully kitted out. So as you can see, we've not really helped the top speed whatsoever. The ground resistances have got a little bit better, although we didn't really focus on that. We've now got 302 meters of still concealment, 330 on the move concealment, which again is pretty decent for a medium tank. It's not incredible camo, but it's pretty decent. 476 meters of view range means this vehicle can spot for itself decently well as well. You've got 26.08 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, which is ever so slightly better, but again, we're not running rapid aim at this moment in time, so we've not done as much as we can to help that. You've now got a 0.69 giggity accuracy during rotation with a 2.22 accuracy during movement, which is a hell of a lot better than it was. Like, that is massively better. 0.69 is actually really good accuracy during rotation. 2.22 accuracy during movement, though, is not very good. But it means the aim circle still blooms out a good amount, but nowhere near the level it would have done if you did not help out the gun, which is why you want to be running the gun stabilizer, snapshot, and running gun. You got 2.59 accuracy during, a 2.59 aim time, brain work, 2.59 aim time, which, again, you do feel, and it can be a bit painful, which is why I say you could run the GLD if it does annoy you that much. 0.38 accuracy at 100 meters means the gun is more accurate than it was, but it's still on the derpier end of the scale, and again, you will feel that. 10.38 second reload is 2.5k DPM, which again is neither good nor is it bad for the DZT-159. It's very, very average, and it means you do just consistently chonk out the 440 Alpha, which is nice for the tank. It's just that there are other 440s out there at tier 9 now that used to be 400s that have better accuracy, aim time, you've got better armor. In fact, some of them probably just as mobile as this vehicle without the rocket boosters. Then they have 440 Alpha and probably 3 to 4 to 500 more DPM than we do, which is a sad time, but there we go. Again, I don't like that change, but I digress again. But yeah, that's the DZT-159. That's what I run in terms of crew and equipment. That's what its statistics are. What I'm going to do now is send you into the replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you or not. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the DZT-159, and this game is definitely more of an averagey game for the DZT, and we're on Nominee Nom in a tier 10 game, and what I want to do on Nominee Nom in this vehicle is get towards a position like C4, where I can use the 7 degrees of gun depression, poke over, make sure that they can only really see my turret where they'll bounce, and I can start chunking out rounds with this 440 Alpha. As you can see, when you press left on the D-pad, just like all the other rocket boosters, you will end up getting that boost to your top speed. And when you do, you start going up to that 68 kilometers an hour at top speed. Like I say, if you run the turbo, or run turbo and fuel, you know, if you wanted to, but again, I wouldn't do that. I'd just run turbo. If you wanted to run the turbo, you would get that booster speed even faster, as well as your random normal top speed, which, to be fair, the turbo wouldn't be enough to get you up to... What the? Will you hit that? RN Jesus, it giveth and it taketh, am I right? Sure, okay. But yeah, if you were to run the turbo, the speed boost that you get out of it with the normal top speed at 40, which is slow, you'd only get up to 42 kilometers an hour. It's just not really worth it, if we're honest. But the extra boost that you could get to your boost speed couldn't, you know, it might be nice, really. The one thing is, obviously, you've got to notice with the boost as well, with the DZT, is the fact that it is only 5 seconds. So if you're used to playing the rocket booster heavies, and the rocket booster heavies have a 10-second boost, yeah, it's a lot shorter burst, but again, it's the trade-off. Instead of having the long burst like the heavies have, this has a shorter burst, but you gain way more top speed. The only problem for the DZT-159 is the 40 kph on it is, and it's the one big problem really for it, the 40 kph on its normal top speed is slow. It is slow. And while you get to that top speed fairly easily, you just, once you get there, you go, oh, I'm struggling a bit to keep up with everything. And it can be a royal pain for the DZT-159. It really, really can. Even if it went at 45 kilometers an hour, it wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, the top speed at 40 is very, very limiting. And especially when you've run out the boosters like you might see in this replay, that's where it starts to become a royal pain. So far we've got 829 damage, make that 1263 damage. We've put a shot through the Ruthless, 739 assistance. We also took a Hesh shell from that Ruthless into our turret front, which knocked a lot of our hit points away. It was about 700-800 hit points he hit us for there, which is very, very sad time for us. If I can keep getting shots into that guy, that would be great. He takes a shell for 1,008. Ooh, that's some tasty assistance damage. We will take it because we are keeping him lit up. But we want to get rid of that 183 because we don't want another 183mm of pain, because that would be not good. But he's still alive at this point. I'm thinking, wait, did he just get shut down? No, it's the projectile 65 that gets shut down. He's just unspotted currently. Bayer crests the ridgeline. Now, I'm not sure I could recommend that, Bayer. I don't think you want that pain that's staring at you. So I'm going to try and chance it and get a shot in, but he's actually backed off because our team are coming around the corner, and he gets shut down by the 705. There's still the heavy tank behind me, so I think, right, what I want to do is get towards this ridgeline where the T-28 is, because there was a Waffle Panzer IV over there. But he gets spotted on top of it. We're still detected, even though we were behind the rock, so the T-28 was not the one I thought could actually see me. We go for the shot into his lower plate, but it bounces off of the lower plate, and he gets bayered. Oh dear. That poor dude. If there's 183mm of pain that you don't want, you definitely don't want the 300mm of pain that the Bayer can give you. You don't, no, definitely not. So we go for the cupola shot on the M103 at this distance. The accuracy on the DZT, yeah, we're not going to hit that realistically, so I don't know why we even bothered. And we're going to use the last of our boosters here to get across as fast as possible towards this M103 and towards where the rest of the enemy team are, because there's still 8 tanks left alive. We are winning quite handily, so I anticipate that we are going to win this game quite easily, but we don't know where the rest of them are. There's still a couple probably towards the K line, but I bet there's a couple camping on this line here at F90 as well, because there always generally is. So we're just looking across on the left-hand side in case anything gets spotted, because you never know if there is something down towards their cap area. We can't see the heavy tank in the town. There's a Stone Tiger P, the M47 Black, and the artillery on our left. So we're just moving forward to see if we can get a shot into this motherland who is spotted. I'm going to take the chance and shoot through the wall, and yes, we could actually see that guy through the wall. We do low roll, though, which is sad times. Oh, it's 2.1k damage with the 2.2k assistance. Hoping the motherland might just drive back around that corner, but he's not going to. We see that the medium YOLO's in, so I'm going to poke over. We find the leopard, which was unspotted. Can't quite get a shot at the Stone Tiger P, so we're just going to wait and see if the leopard decides to drive back out for us, which he does. We put the shot in for 413, damages ammo rack, and then we're just going to wait for the reload to then go after him to get another shot in. Now, 705 is coming after him, so we're trying to angle for a better shot. We can't quite see him, though, over the 705, but there we go. We get the kill shot there into the Leopard 1 to be able to secure our first kill of the game. 2.8k damage with 2.4k assistance. And there's only 4 tanks left alive. There is the TD that is just about to die to the Bayer, the artillery, which was in the corner at F0, but I'm now anticipating realistically the RT has full sent, possibly down the 0 line in towards the K line. That's what I'd have done if I was him, but we have no idea. And in fact, the artillery drowns somewhere, or drowns, or just jumps off a cliff somewhere. I don't know, but the artillery kills himself, which is artillery behaviour. And there's 2 tanks left alive, which is the 2 heavy tanks. And now, well, this is the problem we've got with the DZT-159, and this is the reason I also liked this replay, because we've got to the point now we've got no rocket boosters. We've got no rocket boosters, and we're relying on the mobility of the vehicle now without those rocket boosters. And, yeah, it is that bit slow. A little bit sluggish as well because of the ground resistances, but we are just that slow. And this is a bit where in other medium tanks I might be able to get there faster to get shots into the back of this 50 TP prototype or the Conqueror. Or is it a Conqueror or is it a Conceiver? No, it's a Conqueror. Yeah, to get shots into the back of those guys, but unfortunately for me, I don't get there in time. And again, that's where the slowness of the mobility can hold you back. And you've got to just be careful with how and where you want to get across gaps and stuff like that because of that mobility. As I finished the game with the second class, the 2.8k, 2.4k assistance damage with the 1357 base XP. Fairly averagey game there for the DZT-159. I think it showed off the tank capably enough anyway, where the turret armour works quite well. You get hit anywhere in the hull armour, you get impenned. There is no second way about that. The hull armour is not very good, unless you side scrape it, which you can do. You can side scrape it, but yeah, generally the hull armour gets wrecked. The turret armour is pretty good. The gun handling is one of those where sometimes it feels really nice and other times it feels really derpy. And you sit there going, really? Did you miss that? Thanks, gun. Really good of you, you know. And the DPM is alright. It just consistently pushes out that damage. Like I say, it would be alright for the 440 if it wasn't for the fact that there's quite a few other tanks at tier 9 now with 440 that used to have 400 that have the same DPM as they had when they were 400, which is 300, 400, 500 more DPM than this tank, and they're more accurate and better aim time and all that good stuff. But there we go, I digress. So, we're on the second replay, and the second replay we're here on this map, which is Arctic Region. And Arctic Region, what I'm going to do is go to this corner at C2, because I can go hull down on the little mound here. But in fact, I'm going to use the rocket boosters. And with the rocket boosters, what I'm going to do is get as quickly as possible to the ridge line in front of them, underneath the gun line of the E75. Now, we've seen the Manticore. Now, what I want to do, again, is I've got better DPM than the Manticore, so what I want to do is get to the ridge line as quickly as possible, so I'm under their gun line, swivel my armour towards this Manticore, and then start putting shots into him. Which is what we do. We get one in for 441 while I'm still backing up to make sure that these guys behind me can't shoot me. I'm hoping they won't even bother anyway, because of all the heavy tanks that are currently ploughing over. We're going for that shot into the Manticore. You can see the slow turret traverse there was starting to be a bit of a pain. We're trying to keep the gun on target with that Manticore, but the turret traverse is just slow. But we did get the shot in. And we also ricocheted a shot off from the E75, who is stock, because you can see he bounced 360 Alpha, which means this guy has the Tiger 2's gun, and he's not got the big honking 128. And we get a shot through his lower plate. He bounces off of our turret front. Now, I'm just going to be careful because, again, this guy can quite easily go through my hull, and he is very much looking at us. So I'm sitting there going, fire, there we go. The M103 puts the shot in and shuts him down. Now, I didn't think that guy was actually going to come over and shoot me in the back because of the amount of my tanks that were coming around the corner, but there we go. So we see the Manticore. There's the derpiness of the gun. It was mostly aimed there, but it wasn't fully aimed, and so we ended up hitting the dirt, missing the chance to get a shot into that pesky little Manticore. BZ-75 is trying to boost away and get out of dodge, which we go for the shot into his side there, which we had his whole side. The shot went high and hit his turret instead. and bounced. Again, gun handling. That's what I mean with the tank, with the gun handling at times. It is a bit poor, and it can feel a bit frustrating. But again, it's that 440 Chinese type of gun where it can just be derpy. So we're going to boost towards their area here where this ST-1 is. That's where I wanted to be. But we ended up finding the ST-1, which caught me off guard. And I sat there going, what's he doing there? Okay. So we managed to get a shot into him, stay unspotted, because again, the camo on this vehicle is good enough that the trees and stuff actually reacted enough to keep us camouflaged from him. And he's probably not got the good view range anyway, because ST-1's not got the best view range as it is. And a lot of people just say, I'm a heavy tank, I don't need view range whatsoever, and don't set up for view range. You really should. You should always set up for view range in World War II, because even though you might be on the front line, situations like that, you could probably have spotted me and then caught me out in the middle, but he didn't, and I got to shoot him without ever getting seen, but there we go. So, we're on the area where I want to be. There is 8 tanks left alive. I'm thinking there might be something up on our left-hand side, because there usually is something camping on the little campy ledge at C8, but it doesn't seem to be the case. I know there's the 2 heavy tanks on the corner where this BZ-75 is. I can see exactly where the artillery is firing from, which is going to make this awkward, because I'm not going to be able to get the spots on him, which is just going to make this whole scenario awkward. So we see the superstructure there of the Object 704. We hit the dirt. Again, gun handling. Artie starts looking at us, which makes me concerned. The turret armour is that good on this vehicle, again, that I feel like I'm quite happy to go in front of the 704 and bounce him off the turret front. We get hit by the contender because we show a little bit too much of our tracks. And I decide, yeah, I don't want to stay over there anymore, because that artillery could get me. The contender and that clearly can see me if they're trying to get shots in. The 704 is coming around to try and get shots in. We get a shot through his superstructure, but yeah, I'm going to get as quickly as possible over to this corner where he is not going to be able to get shots into me. And from here, I should hopefully be able to get shots into the back of the heavy tanks in the E100 and the BZ-75. And from here, you can see, we can see the back of the turret of the E100, which we get a shot into. We've angered the beast right now. He's started to turn around. And really, what I should do right now is actually load heat rounds so that I can try and go through the front of his turret or go through the bar. But in fact, if I'd loaded heat rounds, as he hits us on the move, thank you for that E100. That was great. But yeah, if we'd loaded heat rounds there, that shot into the side would not have worked. That would have just hit his spaced armor and been absorbed. The artillery is still trying to get shots into us, which is very, very awkward. I don't want to take that hit. I'm concerned about where this E100 is going, because I felt like if he poked over that little ledge there, he could have actually shot us and we'd have been dead. We're still, again, artillery snoozers? No, if artillery snoozes, that's great. I'd love it if the artillery snoozed. But no, if the artillery sneezes on us, we are going to die. So we're just going to move into a position now where we can try and get some shots into the E100, because the artillery gets shut down by the TNHT VZ-51. And at this point, I think, okay, you know what? E100, you can have a free kill. If you let me get an extra shot of damage, you can give me... I'll just give you the kill. But what I should be doing here, by the way, is loading heat. Again, to go through the lower plate, because he's just going to have himself at a weird angle. I'm not going to be able to get this AP round in. We unfortunately bounces off our 277 friend, which at this point we should have loaded heat, because look at the angle he's at. This AP round is never really going to go in, and it makes that whole experience awkward, and the Concept 1B ends up shutting him down anyway. We finished the game with a pretty decent total there for the DZT-159. We finish with the victory. 0 kills, 4,016 damage, 1,452 base XP. The Confederate with the second class. Again, another averagey game there for the DZT-159. Again, showing off the strengths of the tank, the nice turret armor, the 440 Alpha's nice, the DPM's alright, but then also showing off a bit of the weakness in the fact that the hull armor gets penned quite easily in that way, as well as it can be a bit slow at times again without the rocket boosts. So now we're on to the third replay, and this third replay we're on to airfield. And on airfield, what we're going to do is use the rocket boosts to get into position as quickly as possible and get up onto the ledge at E5. Now you can see this is where it feels a bit slow with the rocket boosters, in that you go, aha, I've boosted, oh, my booster's out. Aha, I've boosted, oh, it's out. That's the difference between this and the rocket booster heavies, is that feeling of how long you're boosting for. You really do feel like it takes no time at all for it to finish. So the machine's going quite aggressively around that corner. We've got the medium tank behind us, and in fact, a Batchat comes in? Sir, I'm not sure this is what you want to be doing, so we're just trying to swivel the arm around so that we can get the turret as the only thing he can see. He's not bothered about us, though, and in fact, he's a stop Batchat. That is a stock Batchat. You don't see those very often at all. Because, no, if you didn't know, the Batchat 25T has a stock gun that you actually have to grind through, which is a sad time still for the Batchat, as it's got the same gun that you get on the AMX 5100 and the stock gun on the 5120. That sort of thing. It's the same gun that you get on the Lorraine 40T as well before the Batchat, and it's actually the same gun that you get on the Bat-Tap. So, yeah, it's that 100mm gun. And that vehicle has that gun as stock, which means it gets 6 shots, but, yeah, it's not a very good gun for tier 10, realistically, and yeah, you do have to grind through it. But I digress. This replay is not about the Batchat, who sillily threw himself away. We get a shot in to finish the M46 off, who had more hit points than that when we shot at him. Well, as he got unspotted, but he must have taken a couple of hits. We get shot into the Gorilla 15 there, putting him down to a one-shot. Hopefully he'll stay in the same place so we can finish him off. In fact, the Gorilla 15 actually gets shut down by the DBV-152. I'm just being as careful as possible not to get spotted in this scenario, because they still could have people back there where that Gorilla 15 is, and we could lose some hit points, because we know there was a VZ back there at 1.2. So we're just going to keep poking around and see if we can spot anything. Oh, they get a medium tank spotted at D0. It's a T62A who's going around that corner. They've got 2 heavy tanks at E7. And so I'm thinking, I wonder if I can get up behind these heavy tanks and get to a position like D8. Now, this is where these rocket boosters will be quite handy, because, naturally, I'm slow. You can see we're going at 39, 40 kilometers an hour. But when I get to this gap, I press the left on the D-pad, get the boost going, hit that guy on the move, because why not? And now we've got across that gap where they're not going to be able to hit us, and we're now in a position where I can now shoot these guys in the back. Now, I could go after the T62A. I don't really fancy doing that. I want to be able to disrupt these heavy tanks and help my team get beyond them. So we've got the Panzer 7. We put a shot into his side, just keeping our eye on that T62A in case he tries to come round on us. We can see the Night Stalker in the distance, which is another tank we really want to get rid of. So we put the shot into the side of his turret there because we did have it, and that was a less likely shot to go in, but we'll take it. And he ends up pulling back so we can't get any shots into him. So now we're going to go and disrupt these guys once again. So we put another shot into the side of the Panzer 7, who's clearly had enough of our shenanigans. We're being looked at, though, as we pull around this corner. That is definitely the Night Stalker that's wanting revenge for us shooting in through the side of the turret. So we're just going to pull back. Every single time we get a shot into the E75, we're going to pull back behind this rock to make sure that they're not going to hit us with a rocket. You can see the instant we looked at going around this rock, we got detected. That's definitely the Night Stalker. So we get a shot through the side of the E75's turret. There we go. There's the rockets from the Night Stalker. Thankfully, none of them hit us. And we're up to 5,060 damage. I'm going to use another rocket booster to get across the gap before the Night Stalker get any shots into us. The T62A is already gone. They have 7 tanks left alive, and I'm thinking, well, where are they? There's a fair few actually at J7, so I'm not too worried about that. And I think a lot of them will be at J9. So I'm just going to try and get towards J9, get there to try and get that bit of extra damage. We have our team coming in as well. And as we come around the corner, we get spotted by a TD, and we spot the TD and go, oh, what's that? Oh, no, it's a 4005. Oh.
It's over. Get out and get to safety.
Yep. 2 tapped. Big gun combo. 4005 and then the T92. But we still finished the game with a good total there. 5.5k damage. The 1 kill, the sniper, the first class, the Confederate medal, with the 1566 base XP. Really nice game there for the DZT-159, and that could have been an even better game, realistically. That's such a sad time that that happened. It was just, we just got caught out by that 4005. In fact, we caught each other out. And then him, full swivel, on the move. We all know how big that 4005's aim circle is going to have been, and he hit us and penned us with the AP round. And then the artillery insta-double tapped us as well, which is even worse. But hey-ho. We're on to this third and final replay, and this one we were playing on the Wargamer stream with KB and Randy, and we're on Prokhorovka, the Dream, and we're going to have a pretty nice game. We are top tier, which is perfect for us. It's very rare for tier 9s, but we'll take it. That Falcon T92, I'm not sure what he was doing. I think that Falcon T92 just wanted death. I think that's what he wanted. That's the only thing I can think of. The Equalizer on the enemy team has the barrage gun, which is, I always love it when I see an Equalizer with a barrage gun. It can be a bit annoying because of the 4 shells raining in, but a lot of the time it does absolutely nothing to you, and you sit there going, oh, This is good. At least I'm not going to keep getting slapped. So, we're looking for a shot into this moisture at the back. AP round was never going to go in, realistically. The 260 pen that we have on this AP round is not going to be enough to go through a moistion's turret front. If we'd had 310 heat, though, that would have been. So, there's nothing getting lit up. We spot the moisture, but there just doesn't seem to be anything else. Our light tank's got to the E1 bush, which is an aggressive bush. DZT-159 gets spotted at the back, which we put a shot through his upper plate. And again, if you can see any of the hull armor, generally you are going to go through the hull armor on a DZT-159. The hull armor is just not very good. Or should I say you're generally going to go through the hull armor in a DZT-159 if you're a tier 9 or 10. And a lot of the tier 8s will. But if you were seeing this thing in a top tier matchup where you're seeing tier 7s, tier 7s with their stock pen might not quite go through it, but that's the way it goes. So, there is a couple of tanks at the back there. The moisture is pushing up into a position where I couldn't recommend it. We get a shot into the side of his turret. It bounces because of the angle. So we load the heat rounds. Now, the guy next to me just took a load of hits. I'm seeing all the shells flying in, but I feel like I might get another chance to put a shot in before taking that hit. No, we did take a shot in the side of the turret there before that. Once this moisture's dead, though, I'm thinking, they've got quite a few tanks down there. They've got a tank in the corner as well at B1. I might just go on a spotting run because the light tank is just sat in the bush. They're all sat hull down in a position. And you know what? We're not just going to let this game stagnate and get stuck into a sniper war, especially when we can't really poke out the bowl too easily because we keep taking shots in the side. So we're going to use the rocket boosters and go on a mad dash to spot everything down in this corner. So you can see I'm keeping my eye on that left-hand side so that if a TD gets spotted, I can shoot it. But nothing's getting spotted, so I think, oh, it might have moved, right? No, there it is. Luckily for me, though, it's a stock ISU-152. It's a... Well, I say stock. It's an ISU-152 with the 122mm gun, because that's not stock. Stock would be the Derp gun. So yeah, it's got the 122mm gun, so we don't take a bigger hit as we thought we might. We spotted that ISU-152 though, and he gets shut down. So now is the time to go ahead and, again, use the 7 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle. Keep it so that it can only see my turret, because the turret front on this vehicle is very, very good. We derp the floor there. Again, the gun handling on this vehicle at times is just annoying. The SFAT-105 gets shut down by the Waffle Panzer IV. The DZT-159 gets shut down before we take a shot from him. Get shot into the AMX-65T, who then also gets finished off. We've got 3,000 assistance with 2.5k damage. We find the Equalizer as well, who we're just going to shoot on the move. He gets finished off by the 257. We find all the campers at the back in the other two TDs and the Standard B. And our assistance damage... Oh dear, Standard B. That doesn't look like a good time. So we're using the rocket boosters to get to the very next ridge line, yet again, to get underneath the gun line, so we're not going to take too easy a shot. Looking for that I say turret roof. It's not really a turret roof. The superstructure roof there of the AT-15. He gets finished off with a T-95E2, leaving just the Standard B and the Tortoise. We've got 5.2k damage. Make that 5.3k assistance damage, 4.2k damage. And there's the one vehicle left alive on the enemy team, which is the Tortoise. So we're going to just race to try and get up behind him to be able to pick up our 4th kill of this game or get a little bit extra damage. He gets put down to a one-shot. We come over and finish him off. And we secure our 4th kill of the game. Very, very good game there for the DZT-159. You saw what the rocket boosters are capable of if you need to make that kind of push we did there. And we finished with the epic victory. 4 kills, 4.4k damage. With, again, that 5.3k assistance. So that's nearly 10k combined. With the Ace Tanker, Pascucci's, the Patrol Duty, the Sniper Medal, with the 2.1k base XP. Fantastic game there for the DZT-159, but in a very good matchup, to be fair. But that's the DZT-159. Again, it's a very average tank. It's not anything to shout home about. It's not terrible, but neither is it great. You know, it's one of those that if it got a little bit extra on the top speed, it might be a little bit nicer to play in general. But yeah, that's the DZT-159. That's the tank you'll get from the Anniversary Pass. Definitely get it through the Anniversary Pass and not the store. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.